There is a chapter inside the Jewish scriptures that has existed for over 2,000 years. Most people have never heard of it. And for most of Jewish history, the rabbis preferred it that way. This chapter was not hidden because it was dangerous to enemies. It was restricted because the rabbis believed it was dangerous to the reader. The Talmud records that a young boy read one particular word inside this chapter, just one word, and fire came forth and consumed him. The greatest sages in Jewish history refused to study it alone. Some refused to teach it at all. One rabbi, one of the most brilliant minds in the entire history of Jewish scholarship, entered the study of this chapter and came out the other side so shattered that he never recovered. This is not legend. This is in the Talmud. And today, for the first time on this channel, we are going to open it together. Welcome. What you are about to hear is one of the most extraordinary stories in the history of Jewish mysticism. A chapter so powerful that the rabbis of the Talmud placed specific restrictions on who could study it, when they could study it, and under what conditions. A chapter that sits inside the book of Ezekiel, hiding in plain sight, that most people read without understanding what they are actually looking at. By the end of this video, you will understand why the greatest minds in Jewish history treated this text with a reverence bordering on fear. Before we go further, if you have been with this channel and these teachings have given you something worth carrying, subscribe right now. Because what we are building here, week after week, is a community of people who believe ancient wisdom still speaks. One tap, and let's begin. Open the book of Ezekiel. Turn to chapter 1. On the surface, it reads like a vision, a prophet standing by a river in Babylon, a storm coming from the north, fire, light, 4 living creatures, wheels within wheels, a throne of sapphire, and above the throne, something Ezekiel could barely describe. He does not say he saw God. He says he saw the appearance of the likeness of the glory of God. 4 layers of distance between the prophet and what he witnessed. Ezekiel 1, verse 28. The rabbis read that verse and understood, this is not ordinary prophecy. This is a doorway into something that language was not designed to carry. And it nearly cost the entire book of Ezekiel its place in the Hebrew scriptures. The Talmud, in Tractate Hagigah, records that the early rabbis actually debated whether the book of Ezekiel should be included in the canon at all. The vision in chapter 1 was so difficult, so dangerous in their view, that some argued it should simply be removed. What saved it? One man, a rabbi named Hananiah ben Hizkiah. The Talmud records that he locked himself in an upper room with 300 jugs of oil for his lamp, and refused to come out until he had reconciled every difficulty in Ezekiel with the rest of the Torah. He worked through the night after night, and because of his dedication, the book of Ezekiel was preserved. The chapter that almost disappeared is the chapter we are about to enter. The Mishnah, one of the foundational texts of Jewish law, contains a statement that stopped scholars in their tracks for centuries. In Tractate Hagigah, chapter 2, verse 1, it says this: Maaseh Merkavah, the account of the divine chariot, may not be expounded to even one individual, unless that person is wise and understands it by himself. Read that carefully. Not 2 people, not a group, not even one person, unless they are already wise enough to have understood it on their own. The Babylonian Talmud in Hagigah 13a goes further. It states that public exposition of this text is forbidden entirely, because it could lead to erroneous interpretations in the hands of those not ready to receive it. What were they afraid of? Not political danger, not persecution. They were afraid of what happened to the unprepared mind when it encountered something it was not yet equipped to hold. The Talmud records that a boy who recognized the meaning of a single word in Ezekiel chapter 1, the word hashmal, used to describe a kind of divine radiance surrounding the throne. Fire came forth and consumed him. Whether this is understood literally or metaphorically, the message from the rabbis was clear. This text is not for the casually curious. It requires preparation. It requires humility. It requires a teacher. And even then, it carries risk. So what is inside Ezekiel chapter 1 that made the rabbis so careful? Let me walk you through it, respectfully and with the care it deserves. The vision begins in the 5th year of King Jehoiakim's exile. The prophet Ezekiel is standing by the Chebar River in Babylon, and then the heavens open. He sees a storm coming from the north, a great cloud with fire flashing from it, surrounded by radiance. From inside the fire emerge 4 living creatures. Each has a human form, but 4 faces. The face of a human, an eagle, a lion, and an ox. Each has 4 wings. Their legs are straight, like a calf's hoof, gleaming like burnished bronze. They move like lightning. Between them, fire, torches, lightning. Beside each creature, a wheel. But not a simple wheel. A wheel within a wheel. Their rims are covered in eyes. And when the creatures move, the wheels move with them. When the creatures rise, the wheels rise with them. Above the creatures, a crystal expanse. Above the expanse, a sapphire throne. And upon the throne, a figure with the appearance of a human, surrounded by fire, surrounded by the radiance of a rainbow. Ezekiel falls on his face, and then he hears a voice. The rabbis called this vision Masa Merkavah, the work of the chariot, and they taught that what Ezekiel saw was not a metaphor. It was a glimpse of the actual structure of the divine realm. 4 living beings, which Jewish tradition identifies as the highest order of angels. The wheels, representing the continuous movement of divine providence through the world. The throne, representing the seat from which all creation is governed. And the figure upon the throne, representing the closest thing a human prophet could describe of the indescribable. The rabbis spent centuries trying to understand what Ezekiel saw. Most concluded, the vision itself was given to us not to be fully understood, but to be approached with awe. Now I want to tell you the story that has haunted Jewish scholarship for 2,000 years. It is found in the Talmud, Tractate Hagigah, chapter 14b. 4 of the greatest rabbis in Jewish history decided to enter what the text calls the Pardes, the orchard, a mystical realm of deep divine knowledge. Their names were Ben Azai, Ben Zoma, Acher, whose real name was Elisha ben Avuya, and Rabbi Akiva. 4 of the sharpest minds in all of rabbinic Judaism. And the Talmud records what happened to each of them. Ben Azai looked and died. Ben Zoma looked and was stricken. He lost his mind. Acher cut the shoots. He became a heretic, abandoning everything he had believed. And Rabbi Akiva alone entered in peace and departed in peace. The Talmud does not fully explain what they saw inside. It does not need to. The outcome speaks. 3 of the 4 greatest minds in Jewish history could not survive the encounter intact. Only Akiva, who approached with complete humility, complete faith, and a lifetime of spiritual preparation, came through whole. The rabbis told this story not to discourage study, but to teach something essential. There are things in the universe that require you to be ready before you approach them. And readiness is not about intelligence. It is about the condition of your soul. So why does this matter today? Why does a chapter that was restricted 2,000 years ago still deserve our attention? Because of what it reveals about how the ancient rabbis understood the world. They believed, with complete conviction, that reality had layers. That the world we see is the outermost layer of something far more vast and structured than we can normally perceive. That the divine realm is not distant, it is present, but filtered through layers of creation so that we are not overwhelmed by it. Ezekiel's vision, in their understanding, was a momentary thinning of those layers. A prophet being shown what is always there, just beyond the edge of what we normally see. And the restriction on studying this text was not about keeping secrets. It was an act of care. The rabbis were saying, "This is real. This is not poetry. Approach it when you are ready. Approach it with a guide. Approach it with reverence. Because the things that are most true are also the most powerful. And power, handled without preparation, can overwhelm rather than illuminate." 2,000 years ago, a rabbi locked himself in a room with 300 jugs of oil to make sure this chapter survived. He believed it was worth preserving, not despite its difficulty, but because of it. The chapter that was almost removed from the scriptures. The vision that consumed the unprepared. The orchard that broke 3 of the 4 greatest minds in Jewish history. It is still there, in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1. And the rabbis who restricted it did not do so out of fear that it would be misunderstood. They did so out of respect for how much it contained. Some things are not secrets because someone is hiding them. They are secrets because most of us are not yet ready to fully receive them. Perhaps that is the deepest teaching of all. Before you go, I need to ask you something directly. This channel exists because people like you believe that ancient wisdom still matters, that the questions the rabbis asked 2,000 years ago are still worth asking today. If that is you, subscribe right now. Not for the numbers, but because every subscriber tells the algorithm that this kind of content deserves to be found by more people who are ready for it. One tap, that is all it takes. And the like button. Hit it right now if this video made you think about something you have never thought about before. It takes 1 second, and it sends this teaching further than I can send it alone. Now, I want to hear from you. The 4 sages who entered the Pardes, Ben Azai, Ben Zoma, Acher, and Rabbi Akiva, only one came out whole. Here is my question for you. What do you think made Rabbi Akiva different? Write your answer in the comments below. 1 sentence is enough. I read every single comment, and I promise you, some of the most interesting conversations on this channel happen right there. The video on your screen right now goes even deeper into the world these ancient rabbis lived in. I think you are ready for it. Thank you for being here. Shalom.